Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. Well, it's been a long season, but it's all coming down to this weekend. Yes, today, Saturday, Inter Milan, Man City, the Champions League final. This is Room 442. Shaman, Vatani, and Pararia here with you. We've been covering this all week long. It isn't really David against Goliath, I don't think. But the narrative is that it is City's to lose. And there's no way they're going to lose, Sarah. What's your gut telling you ahead of this one?
My gut's still saying City. I think they've made it to a final, twice now with Guardiola and lost. And I think third time's the charm. I think they're not going to mess this one up. And the way they've been playing in other competitions in the Prem, the FA Cup. That being said, I think more credit needs to be given to Inter still. It is a final. Anything can happen. They have a history in this tournament as well. But I think when you look at the players, City have the edge there. They're so talented.
Yeah, on paper they're the better team. They've been the best team in European football this season. But we got to stop dismissing Inter Milan. Mm-hmm. They're in this position for a reason. And Charms, we've talked about this so many times. The best team doesn't necessarily always win the Champions League. We saw that with Real Madrid. Obviously, Inter Milan, a completely different team. But I just feel like Inter has enough to disrupt this City team, make it frustrating for them, and they have outlets and guys who can score in Dzeko, Lukaku, Lautaro Martinez, a pretty strong midfield. I think they have everything that they can possibly have to take down this City team, and they're going to make it tough for them. I could see it go all the way. I'd probably lean towards City, but I would not dismiss Inter.
You look at the way they played against AC Milan, too, in the last round. They played them superbly, but Milan's a counter-attacking team. Right, City is just an everything team. Possession, keep the ball. They can get in the break as well. Yeah. Which is why I think tactically they match up so well against Inter Milan. I just don't see it. It could be tight. You look at the other European trophies handed out so far this year. Sevilla win the Europa League, penalties. We saw West Ham this week in the Conference League. Going down late. Jared Bowen scoring that game. Close games. Finals are often close games. Now and again you get a blowout though. There is still that possibility here, right? That we get a blowout.
There is a possibility. And there's also, look at the Europa Conference League and the Europa League. Both the Italian teams lost there, right? So pressure's on for Inter to, keep Italy going. But I don't know. I think initially I thought maybe because of what we saw City do to Madrid and Leipzig, you think maybe a blowout could happen. But the more this game gets closer and closer, the more you realize it is a final. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I really don't see it happening. And I hope for our sake, just as neutral fans, it's not. Because it's always, you want it like that frustrating, that gritty back and forth football.
Like last year, that awful 90 minutes.
That was awful. Worse for you.
It was terrible. The best team lost.
A great game.
All right.
And probably
Real Madrid was
the worst Champions League final in recent memory.
That one
wasn't that one.
That one, Chelsea. That one.
No, I would say 2018-19.
Liverpool and Tottenham. Snooze fest.
Well, okay. Sorry, as far as the best final.
No, one of the worst finals.
Worst final. Yeah,
that was
bad ones.
Cringe.
But out of these last 10 finals, which team there is legitimately a great team?
Real Madrid.
What?
Which one though? 16-17 they won the double.
Yeah.
17-18. That was Ronaldo those bicycle
teams,
kick.
And we're talking about blowouts, right? Like 16-17 they beat Juventus 4-1.
Barcelona 14-15. Yeah. That was also insane. That was MSN.
That was Messi, Suarez, Neymar.
Yeah.
Iniesta was still.
Yeah, there were a lot of those teams. There's a few though that just like the Chelsea 20, that was just the COVID.
Yeah.
That was the COVID champions.
Yeah, well, that was one where City should have probably won that match as well.
Pep tinkered a bit too much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of becoming a cliche narrative now, but it's something to think about because he obviously thinks about these things.
Does he overthink?
Could be, but when it comes to these Champions League finals, more recently there hasn't been too many blowouts. Other than 2017-18 when Real beat Liverpool because Loris Karius forgot how to play goalkeeper.
Don't remind me.
4-1 when Real beat Juventus. It doesn't always happen. It's usually tight. And when you have a team like Inter who could defend deep, and they essentially play like an old English style of football. They play the long ball. The two up front, right? Yeah. It's rudimentary how they go about it, but that's how I think they can bypass the City midfield and frustrate them.
Look at recent memory though. Real Madrid, you almost forget just how dominant they've been in the last decade.
I don't forget.
And I think we almost take it for granted because I'm saying, where's a truly great team? Well, obviously that Real Madrid team was a truly great team, the Ronaldo Real Madrid team. But as far as the all-time greats, if City win on Saturday, if they win, they won the treble, and the way they've gone about their business, they might be the best of the bunch here. Although
Barcelona
I
won the treble in 14-15.
Yeah.
So I will keep you to that one,
Listen,
James.
Us too, we're talking about the treble. Like, it's like, oh, they're going to win the treble. It is massive. But Bayern's done it one time in their history. Barcelona's done it one time in their history.
Twice.
Barcelona did it twice.
Yeah,
Barca did it twice, and you have Manchester United. It's difficult to do. Think about the history and how long these teams have been around.
Yeah.
To pull this off is absolutely massive. I mean, can they do it? Probably, but we need to stop underestimating the importance of this this treble if they do pull it off.
We have to remember Inter are also going for a less conventional treble here as well. They won the Supercoppa Italia and the Coppa Italia. Like, I mean, listen, it's not...
Supercoppa doesn't count.
I mean... Listen, 3 trophies though for Inter. If Inter finished this season with 3, I mean, they already have 2. Like, it's just something that we are completely dismissing it. Like, it's just, I get it. It's a cup it's 2 cup trophies, and they're not, you know.
But still, for a country that's thirsting for success, it is something. You're right, 100%.
Exactly.
It is.
Top 4 finish too, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, they've had a lot better season, and I think what we are remembering of them this year.
And let's give Simone Inzaghi a lot of credit here as well, right? All we hear about is Pep, right? Yeah, the King of Cups. Simone Inzaghi and his more famous brother Pippo. Even when he played, he's been overshadowed by other people, right? He's done a great job there.
Never lost a cup final, guys.
Never.
7 with together Inter and Lazio. Never won a cup final. That's gonna go when Pep Guardiola.
And he was on the brink of getting sacked earlier this season and last season, but they stuck with him.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's going to be a really interesting match. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We understand why City are the huge favourites right now. We understand why it's a final and Italian teams can defend. A real unfair cliche. They can attack as well.
They can.
But we'll break this down a little bit further when we come back. But regardless, 3 p.m. Eastern should be a fantastic event. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.
It's his second UCL final in 3 seasons, but Pep Guardiola hasn't tasted Champions League glory for over a decade. You really get the feeling that could be about to change, though, with Man City finally looking like the genuine article this campaign. The Sky Blues finished top of their qualifying group, going unbeaten and scoring a whopping 14 goals against Dortmund, Copenhagen, and Sevilla. And in the knockout rounds, they went even better, literally decimating the net with 19 strikes en route to Saturday's final. A 7-0 demolition of RB Leipzig at the Etihad was probably to be expected, but if a 3-0 win against Bayern Munich gave City fans reason to believe, the subsequent 4-0 drubbing of Real Madrid in the semis turned talk of treble from fantasy into reality. Inter finished a whopping 8 points behind Bayern in their qualifying group, and the Serie A Giants have been less than emphatic on their way to the final. Simone Inzaghi's side sneaked past the best Portugal has to offer in the first 2 knockout rounds, overcoming Porto and Benfica without much fanfare. But they were more clinical against Italian opposition, beating Scudetto winners Napoli at home and away without conceding in the semis. Strange things happen in finals, and City have blown it here twice in recent seasons. But surely Inter can't hold back this gathering Mancunian wave. And surely this is the year when Pep is finally reunited with the highest honor in domestic football.
It's kind of a mashup between Demi Moore and Sean Dyche, right?
God.
The pipes
the
there.
Voice. Oh,
the
yeah.
Voice, yeah.
Demi Moore and Sean Dyche.
How's the Voice 2 unit survive today?
It's better, but maybe if this air pollution in Toronto, I don't think it'll get better until we can actually see the blue sky again.
You know, we'll have a couple of beers maybe later today at the Champions League final event at the Red Room in Toronto.
Yes. Nice call.
All right, listen, let's break down these 2 teams a bit further. You know, 3-5-2 against 4-3, whatever the hell Pep plays these days.
Yeah, whatever you want.
3-4-3.
John Stone, the midfielder.
Yeah, midfielder, yeah, exactly. All right, Sarah, let's both, all of us pick a player from each team to watch here, okay? Let's start with you.
Okay, so obvious choice here for City, Kevin De Bruyne. Big time player, of course, but we were speaking about this actually, I think yesterday. City have, when they are playing a team that's super defensive and, you know, Haaland can't get the ball, they take these wild shots outside of the box. Think about a team like Real Madrid, what Kevin De Bruyne did there. You're looking at players like Gundogan, him, maybe even Jack Grealish, but he's going to be a player to watch because he's going to be setting everything up to Haaland, but also he's a guy that can score. He's going to be sending that ball in, and I think he might be, you know, we know this, one of their key players, so of course you have to keep eyes on KDB. I'd say him probably having a couple shots on target, it's good value there too if you're looking for a bet.
Yeah, sticking with City? in terms of players to watch?
Yeah, why not? Let's do that.
Okay, so I'll go with Ruben Diaz. And it could be Ruben Diaz, it can be Manuel Kanji, it can be Kyle Walker, and it can be John Stones. And I think it comes down to the battle against either Dzeko or Lukaku. I expect Dzeko to start for Inter, and then maybe 60 minutes will pass by, and then Lukaku will come in. And the way I think Inter are going to play this thing, it's going to be long balls over the top, bypass City's midfield into Dzeko, win that first ball, and I think it's all going to come down to that second ball. So hopefully you have like a Lautaro, he kicks it out to a wing back, and then off Inter go. I think that's how they're going to play. So I think between those center backs and Inter's strikers, whoever wins that battle, I think will have a better chance of winning this game. I think that's crucial for Inter. They need to win that first and second ball to even have a chance of getting in behind them.
If you heard that back in August that there'd be a Champions League final with City against Inter Milan, and Dzeko's starting this instead of Romelu Lukaku. You know,
he has more
you're
goals.
just crazy. He's been great this year, 37 years of age.
Yeah.
The Dzeko derby, we'll call it, right? He played for City for years. A really good career and a really good player. Never, I won't go as far as saying he perhaps is world class, but pretty good and really important in this match. Alongside your boy Lautaro Martinez, who's looked really good since coming off that. I say it's a bad World Cup for him. He won the World Cup.
It was a bad World Cup for him. It was bad for him individually.
Yeah,
Albert's highest scoring player of the World Cup.
Hey, look at that. He changed his ways. He's playing better. But how about this midfield for Inter too, right? You have Brozovic might even start.
Yeah,
you have Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who's
Yeah.
known as a number 10 free kick specialist, that type of guy who's got some flair about him, is now a deep lying midfielder besides Mkhitaryan, and Barella makes sense. He plays in that position for Italy, but how Inzaghi has changed the way these guys play is, I think, one of the reasons why they're here.
Because they're all ball winners as well now.
That's right, yeah.
Right, as well as, they can spread the ball around. It's an interesting battle there for sure. So I have, watch out for Rodri.
Of course.
For City. Because he's so underrated, right? And don't forget, he was dropped alongside Fernandinho when Pep overthought this final before, and we couldn't believe why. But he's so important to this team, maybe the most important member of this team. Here's the foundation at the back of that midfield. He has the best passing in the Champions League, the most touches. He is instrumental to this team and how Man City play. Like, give it to Rodri, let him organise things, and then let them do their weird thing. They're moving out of position. So for me, he's absolutely key. For Inter, I'm going to go a bit off the board here. DiMarco, the left-sided wing back, right? Really important once again, probably against Bernardo Silva in this one, and he can get at them. And in the past, when City's played against 3-5-2 teams, Silva has struggled a little bit in that role. So I think DiMarco, who obviously is in the shadow of the guy on the other side, Dumfries, has been really good this year, and it's really come down to, I think, a really good battle out wide between those two. Who's your Inter Milan?
Well, it's actually your boy, Lautaro Martinez.
It is. Oh,
it would, if I could pick two, it's the Lula combination, Lautaro or Lukaku. In the last 8 games, both players have scored 7 goals each. Lukaku 4 assists, Martinez 3 assists. They're both on fire right now. I gave Martinez a bit of the edge here and chose him because I think pace is going to come into play against a team like City. We know Lukaku's not the fastest. I mean, he's quite strong though, but I think Martinez is really going to have to step up here for this Inter side. They need someone to score. Why not him? He's been doing so great for this team, so I'd say keep your eye on this guy, because if a goal's coming, I think it might be through the Argentine.
You mentioned something interesting to me yesterday about when City play teams who play this similar formation,
3-5-2
or a 5-2, whatever it is.
It's a 3-5-2.
But they struggled against Brentford twice, double, and
Tottenham,
Spurs
and Everton. They drew, and those are all teams that play 3-5-2.
Yeah, and not a lot of
Very
space, right? And we always talk about, where does Holland score his goals?
He's not
inside
going to
the 6-yard box or inside the 18-yard box. It's difficult to get in there when it's packed with all these midfielders and players. I think the Inter have the best system to nullify Manchester City. Again, that's difficult to do. I would say for City, if Inter don't pick up midfield runners, as we saw in the FA Cup where Gundo was free and able to score those goals, Rodri, Gundo, Kevin De Bruyne, all
Bernardo
those guys
Silva
can score from outside the box easily. Or a late runner that doesn't get picked up, I think that's where those goals can come from.
We've seen Gundo do it last week, right, in the FA Cup final.
Just
it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, he's been great late in the season
2
once again.
goals.
But you would feel maybe Inter's probably going to be a lot more prepared defensively than United.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, listen, City weren't great last week in the FA Cup final. They're the better team by a mile, but they weren't great. Almost they peaked maybe a month earlier. Which is what kind of Pep generally does, right? April peaks, and then we'll figure it out from that point onwards. I can't believe we haven't really talked too much about Haaland yet.
I know.
He's in a bit of a dry spell right now. No goals in 4 games, 1 in the last 7. I've got a feeling he's up for a big one on his stage right now.
See, I am going the opposite here. Haaland doesn't show up to big games. Not that he doesn't show up necessarily, but they mark him. They put maybe 2 or 3 guys on him. He's not the guy that scores in the big matches for City. You have the guys like Albert mentioned, Gundo, Bernardo Silva, KDB, whoever it may be, but I actually don't see Haaland getting on the board tomorrow. I think it's going to be one of these outside of the box shots from one of these guys, because that's the only way they're also going to be able to break a really tough defense like Inter. I don't see it.
Yeah. Haaland didn't score in the Community Shield, the FA Cup, so man, he can't do it.
It seems a long time ago, doesn't it? When we were all saying, "Man, did you see that miss in the
Darwin
Community
v
Shield?"
Haaland, right?
Yep, Darwin v Haaland, and I had put money on Darwin Nunez being the top scorer in the Prem this year.
We were young and naive, weren't we?
So young and naive. Halcyon day, simpler times. After what was a crazy, crazy season, but yeah, you're brave not to bank on Haaland. I mean, at some point he's going to bust out of this slump.
Yeah, maybe.
And he hasn't been in that many big games. He's a young guy still.
No, for sure. I'm basing it on this season, right? That's all I can do. But let's see. I just think it's going to be tough for him to get into the box with Inter and their defense, and they're going to pack it. And I see it being difficult for them.
Acherby's been great, hasn't he? This year he'll be on him a lot.
And Bastoni
as well.
Back there, right?
Let's get quickly some predictions. I want score lines too. Okay. Score lines. The more I think about this, my opinion changes dramatically.
All right.
Okay. Start with you, Bertie. What are you thinking?
I'm gonna go. 2-1 Inter penalties. 2-1 Inter penalties.
You're going to penalties.
You're just saying it to be the contrarian.
No, I'm not. I swear. I've been on this for a long time. Right or wrong?
All right, Sarah, what do you have?
I'll go 2-1 City.
2-1 City?
Regular time.
I'm going to say it's going to be a bit easier than that. It's going to be 3-0 City.
Smash him!
We're going to find out, aren't we? Later today. Should be fantastic. All right, so we are back after the break. Some great interviews this week regarding all things Champions League. And then later today, our bets. Where will we misguide you this time? Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win. All right, so we're just a few hours away now from kickoff. Let's get to the money, shall we? Let's lay some money on today's Champions League final, City against Inter Milan. Sarah, let's start with you.
Well, it's a final, so I'm going to stay away from the winner here. I'm trying to find some good value because City are obviously the favorites. I'm going for another card, a player with a card. Brozovic. Any time to get a card is plus 220. Marcelo Brozovic has 9 cards this season, yellows for Inter. And this game is going to be all about the midfield. It's going to get gritty there between Stones and, Rodri, and then him, like you were saying, Mkhitaryan. It is going to be tough, and he's going to be a guy that will take players out because you got to do the tactical foul.
Yeah.
So I think this is great value. In the Europa League, they had 13 yellow cards. In the Europa Conference League final, they had 8. Expect cards. Why not Brozovic to get a card? I like this. It's safe.
If he starts. So it should be better start first.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could also still come off the bench, but I would wait for lineups to come out before betting goal scorers and
any of that.
And some of the card stuff. I just want to mention quick before I get into my bet, when you're betting money line on finals, that only covers what happens in regulation and injury time. So if it goes to a draw, you lose your bet if you pick City or Inter. If you want to avoid that, go to lift the cup.
And also don't ever trust a referee because I put money on Casemiro on the yellow card. Your bet, by the way, last week.
Which also should have came through.
Should have been at least a yellow card.
Okay, thank you. That's not my fault.
That was
probably
brutal. How did you get nothing for
ridiculous.
That? Okay.
I lost $5 on that.
Damn.
All right, buddy, what do you have?
I'm going with a draw. I know I just said Inter to win. I also like Inter. Inter double chance plus 170 is also a bet. But every time I rule when it comes to these types of finals and knockout games, I always go with the draw because it gets tight. It gets into extra time. Can go all the way to penalties. At plus 400, I see incredible value.
So confused. You're so adamant about them winning.
No, but I said Inter pentalties. So the draw would still hit.
So
right?
within. Okay, gotcha.
Sure, I'm just going.
You're such a degenerate.
No, I'm not. No, I'm trying to make the people some moolah, man.
All right, I have. This is a bit of a fun one, right? Because I'm just banking on Gundogan being amazing once again, right? He scores in big games, this guy, right?
Back-to-back
and
doubles.
Always late in seasons, he scores big goals, many goals. Gundogan to score 2 or more is plus 1,800. There's a reason why it's plus 1,800.
Of course.
But like you said, Inter Milan will be marking Haaland. There'll be deep runs. Fewer better at deep runs than Gundogan. All right, so 2 or more goals plus 1,800.
And he could be also on pens as well. They change it up sometimes.
But
Gundo takes
probably
pens.
Haaland though on pens.
I don't know. They always sometimes it's Mahrez, De Bruyne, Haaland, or Gundo, so you don't know.
Tough choices.
Yeah.
Tough choices.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is coming down to this. 90 minutes. It's going to be fantastic. Can't wait. We'll be back on Monday, of course, to break it all down for you. This has been Room 442. Enjoy the Champions League final. Room 442 is brought to you by North Star Bets. That's a win.